told you when I started a corporation, or when I wanted to start a business and form a corporation, I told you my father said, hey, it's too much paperwork, right? Too many corporate formalities. Then I had lunch with my friends from high school in Troy, and Troy said, hey, you know what? I have my own business, I'm the president. And of course, then I verified it that he actually had filed it with the Secretary of State. And he was actually a corporation. And I said, if that bozo can do it, so can I. Thank goodness none of you said that bozo up here too, right? No, if he can do it, I can do it, right? And I realized something at that moment. In looking through what it takes to form a corporation, there's really only 5 steps. That's it. 5 steps to starting a business and forming it and getting it up and running. The first one, number 1, is the toughest, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is you already have your business idea, but what do you have to come up with to actually start the filing and running process? The name. I say the darn name. Naming a business has been one of my nemesis, okay? Because here's how I wanted my name. I wanted to figure out this corporation, and I wanted to come up with a name, so I walked up, Michael Bowman from blah, blah, blah corporation, and it sounded so professional, so powerful, that, I'm sorry, your name again?
Edward.
Edward's like, whoa, he must be important. That must be a Fortune 500 company. I wanted the name with oomph, right? So, me being me, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about this name. And a couple weeks went by. And it's driving me crazy because I wanted to get this business filed, but I can't file it until I get the name. And also I'm realizing that when I'm driving down the road, I should be throwing a dollar bill out the window every 2 miles. Why do I say that?
Losing money.
Losing money. The mileage deduction, right? That's how micro my mind gets. It's like I'm losing the mileage deduction. If I was a business, I could write off these miles, right? So a little pressure. Finally, I'm a parrot head. Any parrot heads here? Come on, you guys are from Florida. Parrot heads here? You're from Florida. Okay, you're from California. Well, even California, you should know it. It's a Jimmy Buffett fan, okay? There's only one person in here with class and style. Okay, a couple people, good. So I love Jimmy Buffett. It kind of, I love the islands. I love, tropical nature. I love, the beach. And so all of a sudden I go, aha! That's the name of my corporation.
Beach.
Well, no, the song that I was listening to. Not Parrot Head. Margaritaville. Thank you for insinuating that I'm a drunk. I appreciate that. No, it wasn't Margaritaville.
Pencil thin mustache.
Pencil thin mustache? No. Jimmy Buffett, yeah, just take his name. Just hijack the legacy that he's got, right? Not Cheeseburger in Paradise, even though you look at me and you might say he's had a few cheeseburgers. It was a particular harbor. But I changed the spelling and kind of changed it up. And why I chose that was because it reminds me of a place I go surfing it's actually in Northern Oregon, where you hike down along a creek and then it opens up to a big cove. And it just kind of reminded me of like one of my Zen places. So I picked a particular harbor to go ahead and call my company. And all of a sudden I realized that's not the name with oomph. But then I figured out, does it really matter what you call your corporation? Think of some of the company names out there. Do you even know what the half of them mean? I don't, right? So you build the brand, and so I was happy. Okay, particular harbor, no big deal. A little side note on this. I filed it, I get it running, get the EIN, go through the steps that I'm gonna be showing you. And all of a sudden, one day, I got to my office, and you ever walk into an office setting, and you know that something has happened because the people are talking, whispering, and there's chaos kind of going through. I walk in, and I said, what's going on? And they said, our office got broken into. And I said, okay. Did they take anything? Yeah, a bunch of computers and monitors. And I said, that's great news. Well, you guys are looking at me kind of funny. It's great news, right? It's really good news. Why, wait, I just heard it. Yeah, insurance. I get faster computers and larger monitors, right? Okay, you guys will figure this out later. Because seriously, that's good news. You get better stuff, right? It's all insured. I wasn't worried about the data. We actually have our data. It's in a vault, right? I can't even get into it half the time. But it's all locked away. They're all dummy machines. And so I then find out that we actually have videotape of it. We had a monitoring service, but I think they were at lunch when the place was getting broken into. But we had videotape of this, and I'm one of those guys who like to watch real TV. You know, like the cop shows and stuff. So I run into my IT guy's office, and I run in there, and I'm like, pull it up, let's go. And sure enough, you see this guy walk up, pull a crowbar out of his pants, start jimmying the door open, and then he starts carrying the monitors, computers out. And then I see him carrying a corporate binder or a binder out, and mine was a different color. And so I ran into my office. Sure enough, my computer monitors are gone, my computer's gone, some other little things are gone, and my corporate binder for particular harbor was gone. And I said, gosh darn it, now I'm upset. You know why? Because I had to think of a new darn name. Right? So after thinking about it for a while, I chose Acumen Networks. Business acumen, networking, and no one's impressed by that name? Looks like no one gets a book. All you had to do is say, that's the best name I've ever heard, and you would have gotten a book, but now. All right, but that's how I came up with one of my business's names, Business Acumen and Networking. So, Acumen Networks. It's really simple. Again, how do we name the LLCs that our properties are going to be under? Use the address, right? Pretty easy. But number one, forming a business is naming the business. Okay? Now, what you need to do is go ahead and figure what type of business entity you want to operate under. So, entity type. If we're going to be doing short-term deals, which entity is going to be conducive to doing short-term deals to avoid dealer status? A corporation, right? So you got a corporation choice. Now, which entity, if you're going to hold property long-term, is going to be conducive to holding property long-term? An LLC. You can use a limited partnership. I'll just put a few of them up there. Or a sole proprietorship is another thing that you can actually form. It's kind of a default. Do we operate business as a sole proprietorship? No. Never. Okay? No protection because it's you operating it, and no tax benefits. Okay? Now we look at it, and the third is select taxation. See, we've got a few different choices when it comes to taxation. With a corporation, how many ways can we have a corporation taxed? We got C, S, and Z corporations. Okay?
What is Z?
There's no such thing as a Z corporation. You guys have been making fun of my handwriting for the last day and a half now, and now your notes look as bad as mine, so you have to cross it out. No, there's no such thing as a Z corporation, just a C or an S. Okay? An LLC, remember I told you is like the hippie of all business entities?
Yeah.
It's pretty much you set it up, and you go to the IRS and tell them how you want it taxed. What really irritates me at times is when I hear accountants say, hey, this LLC is taxed like an LLC.
Well, duh.
Because there is no LLC taxation under the code. We get a choice. If we want things to flow down, we're a single person, we want things to flow down, we can have it as disregarded. It's really, from a tax code, it's like a sole proprietorship. So sole proprietorship. If there's 2 or more people inside the business in the pursuit of a profit, it's called a partnership. If you want the advantages of a C corporation, we can tax it like a C corporation or an S corporation. All right, that's the third step. Is anyone freaked out about this? There's 3 steps so far we've covered. Pretty logical, right? Okay, these are all the decisions we have to make. And then the next step's kind of fun. It's the hiring. Right? You want to be able to staff the actual company, put people into manager positions or into officer positions or director positions, which we're going to be covering. And so if we look at that, we hire. If you're setting up the entity, I highly suggest that you hire yourself. Okay? Let me talk to you a little bit about what I've seen with my clients. Honestly, I feel very fortunate to do what I do. I've seen lives change. And I was in Orlando, and I sit down, and I'm meeting with a dentist. And he had his son there. And so we sit down and we're talking, and we're going through the structure, and his son was there. His son was a bartender. Nothing wrong with being a bartender, but his day started about 4 p.m. and it ended about 4 a.m. Because what would happen is he'd get up at 4 p.m., he'd go down to the bar, serve drinks, and then because it was so highly, so stressful, he'd have to go drinking with his friends until about 4 a.m. And it was like cyclical. He just kept hitting and repeat. His dad was a dentist. His dad had, the son's name was Will. His dad had Will step away for a little bit. And he says, hey, Michael, I'm worried about Will's future. He's a bartender. This is what he's doing. I love the kid. And Will was Will had charisma. Those people you just see and you like instantly. And he said, but I'm worried about him. One of the reasons why I'm getting into real estate and want to build this business is because I want him involved and get him a profession and a career. And I think real estate, he'd be really good. He's a personable person. So I said, well, that's great. Why don't we go ahead and use him and staff him in the certain different positions. So we made Will a vice president and a director. Now we also gave him a smidgen of ownership. Don't you like that technical legal word, a smidgen? We don't want to get him a majority, right? So all of a sudden, Will became the vice president and director. I kept in contact with him, and then about 4 or 5 months later, I'm in a conference. It was an actual real estate expo. And when I go to real estate expos, I see a lot of clients. They're like, hey, Michael. Well, and I'm pretty good with faces. Sometimes names is, a little bit tough. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this gentleman comes up to me. Michael Bowman, hey, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? And he gives me a big bear hug. I'm like, oh, Mike, okay, personal space here? No. I didn't recognize him, which usually I'm really good with it. He said, it's Will. And I looked at him and I said, oh my gosh, this guy could be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. His total demeanor, his appearance totally changed. He said, remember those businesses we set up? I'm the now president. My dad increased my holdings and we're profitable. And he had taken it, and so I saw a total transformation of someone's life. How cool is that to see? Like, well, I told you, I feel like one of the luckiest attorneys for what we do here. And, just kept track of them, and they just kept building this business, but it totally changed his life and direction. Furthermore, all the hard work that the dad had done was now going to be able to be passed on to the future generations and built upon as opposed to just drained away. Does that make sense? So I like involving family. I'll talk about the other positions. So you need to hire people. The last step is drafting and filing the documents. That's it. What I mean by drafting and filing documents, you need to go ahead and articles of organization, you need to file those with the state. Pretty easy to do that. You can do them online. Now, let me give you words of caution. I don't want you guys doing this yourself because you inevitably screw it up. Sorry, I don't mean to insult anybody, but you pick manager managed when you should have done member managed. You list your name, you do all these things that seem like they're simple questions, but when we set up an entire structure, it's little pieces that add to the totality of the situation. Does that make sense? And then you also need to draft your bylaws for a corporation or your operating agreement for an LLC. Does this make sense? And is the LLC operating agreement, is that important to have? Is the language inside of the operating agreement important? Yes. That's where our protections are, okay? And again, it comes back to my past, my history of being broker than a joke and building up wealth. And I don't want my hard work and sacrifice lost because of a crappy document. Does that make sense? As I showed you yesterday, the words matter, okay? So those are the steps. Only 5 of them. Is this too hard for anybody? No, because we're going to do it for you, right?